During 4 of the last 6 days, I've gone to visit 4 different people. Each time, we were speaking with each other non-stop for periods of 5 to 9 hours consecutively. The hours in the day ran short before our energy to speak and listen to each other did. These conversations were self-reflective, inspirational, informative, emotional, political, racial, religious, high-spirited, intense, naked in our discussion of so-called taboos. But we were never drained of energy. I did a lot of speaking, but those listening to me never showed signs of wanting me to stop. What I learned about this dynamic: when I speak to people, I am speaking to a form of myself. When people allow me to speak with them, I know they are speaking to a version of themselves too. They see themselves in my words. I see myself in their responses to me. We reflect each other. There was no fatigue from either of us because we were participating in a whole, living flow of energy. I left each visit with more energy and more understanding of my own life than before I had visited these people. In some instances, I would be speaking 1 or 2 hours without stopping. As I looked into the eyes of those listening to me, I saw heavy concentration and reflection. Their energy compelled me to keep speaking. This has happened to me over my lifetime, many times, but never in this short period of time, of a time span. And I often wondered why people would let me speak to them for 5 hours without stopping. Why wouldn't I get tired of speaking? Why wouldn't they get tired of listening to me? Then I remembered a post I wrote many months ago, and it goes like this: the idea the speaker is trying to convey is the most important thing the listener must hear in a conversation. If one listens intently enough, one will be able to hear meaning from the speaker, regardless of the speaker's word usage. Different cultures agree on the words their language uses, based upon what they are collectively looking at as a people. If I am to understand them, then I must come to be able to see what they are looking at for myself. When we are looking at the same thing, we have achieved communication. It's my job as the listener or hearer, or learner, to hear them. Without that cultural perspective, there will be no full communication. It doesn't matter what words you use. Flow is everything. I'll give you a personal example. In order to learn Vietnamese, I had to actually listen and hear what Vietnamese people were actually saying. The dictionary didn't work. Google Translator didn't work. I had to place the burden of understanding the people solely on myself. I listened to movies without understanding the words. I listened to the music for hours without understanding the words. I would run my eyes across newspapers written in Vietnamese for hours. I understood nothing. Listening is the hearing, as weightlifting is the strength. As I continued to place my concentration in the listening, I began to hear the culture speak its language to me more and more. As my hearing increased, my ability to move my own ideas in that same rhythm also began to increase. You see, there's no speaking without listening. Talking irritates people who know you don't understand them. People will listen to a speaker all night long. A talker will drain the energy of a listener. A speaker contributes to the hearing of a listener. The speaker always knows what he means when he says something, and if I'm to benefit from his teachings, I must be the one to listen intently enough to actually hear the message. And that was the end of that particular posting I wrote up. And here's what I learned about myself. I am a speaker. I have never been a talker. I respond precisely to what the speaker says to me. I speak precisely to what my own soul directs me to say. We were feeding each other, and the hours in the day ran short before we were even tired of each other. I reflect people in my speech. They reflect me in their speech. This dynamic, this flowing dynamic, eradicated our perception of clock time and sent us into a dimension where time was a rhythm and not a burden. As they allowed me to speak to what my soul demanded I say, perhaps I was reflecting what their own souls demand they hear. One of the people I spoke to had tears in her eyes as I spoke to her in a stream of words from my own soul for tens of minutes without stopping. She was visibly upset, but she would not leave. At the conclusion of our conversation, I said, "You know, I'm both amazed and grateful that you didn't leave as I was speaking." And she said, with tears in her eyes and rage, her face looked like just pure rage. She says, "Well, maybe I needed to hear what you were saying." I know. I definitely needed to speak those words, no matter what her emotional reaction was. Truth is, no matter what our emotional state is, it fed our souls. I used to ask, why me? I mean, why do people call me to speak to them? Why do they demand I spend so much time with them, though I'm always alone? I understand now. As I speak, they hear themselves in my voice, and as they listen, I see myself in their eyes. No one gets exhausted when being fed from their own reflection.